Hey!
Hey!
My sister!
Hey!
My sister!
How you doing?
I kill your dick now.
How you doing? Oh my gosh, you're so fun. Now, how's my Alabama Wi-Fi? You gotta let me know.
I see AT&T got the problem fixed.
Am I clear? I'm not late.
Well, I mean, you. Sometimes you're a little fuzzy, but
Oh,
we can
geez.
make it work.
Oh my gosh, this Alabama Wi-Fi, I promise you, I'm actually going to hop across the border and just go on back home to Georgia because I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. All right, Taryll, tell us a little bit about who you are before we get into the conversation, because when I say I'm so excited about listening.
Oh man, who am I? I ask myself that question each and every day. Who is Taryll? Once upon a time, not long ago. But no, Taryll. So I'm just a humble young man born in New York, raised in DC, to a mom who was born and raised in New York, who met a Nigerian man and fell in love. So I grew up in that Nigerian culture.
Yeah.
And you know how it is growing up in African culture.
No, for the people, I beg you must tell them.
It is all about the books. My friend, you study your books.
You must study your books.
You study your books
for how long?
For the entire night.
What kills me about African culture, and I love it. I love my people, and I wouldn't even know how to grow up in any other kind of household. It's just okay, study your books, do this, be in school for 15 years. And then you get out, as soon as you come out of school, where's your husband? Where's your wife?
Right. What are you doing with your life?
What are you doing with your life? You are a bum. You're wait, but I'm a medical doctor and I have all these things, all these accolades. No, you are nothing, okay? You are nothing.
Yeah, and you better bring the right one home too. Don't bring one with a whole bunch of tattoos and they're like, hi. Oh, it's so good to meet you. My son, my daughter, come here.
Come here.
To the back room.
Come here.
What is this tattoo? What is this?
Yes. What is this nonsense? What is this? My brother, my poor brother. I love him to pieces. He is literally the best little brother you can ever have in life. He's 30 years right now, but everybody that he's ever dated, we're like. We're like, why are you here? How can we help you? That's always the message. But so you are a Nigerian man that grew up with a New York mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I grew up in DC too when DC was the murder capital. It was Chocolate City.
Yeah.
We had a thriving Black community. There was over here you would see Jamaican, every type of Black, Jamaicans, Haitians, Trinidadians, Nigerians, all in the same complex living together. So one day I'm eating fufu and egusi. The next day I'm eating curry goats and rice and peas. for all my Jamaicans out there, some ackee and saltfish.
Saltfish. Yeah, one of my good friends, she's a Jamaican. And she posted this plate. This is so funny. Her mom lives in Jamaica part-time. So she's been gone for months and months. She comes home and her and her sister pick her mom up from the airport. Her mom stays at her sister's house. The next morning, her mom makes breakfast, and her sister tells her sister, post this on your Instagram. Post it on your Instagram because we're going to make your sister jealous, is what she said. So of course my friend sees this nonsense because she was tagging nonsense. But this Jamaican breakfast was literally, it was I forget what they call it. It's a killaloo, but it was a vegetable, so sauteed vegetable, fried plantain, a piece of fish, okay, and what else was it? It looked like lunch. It looked like to someone else it's lunch, but I'm like, oh my god, what a good breakfast. And she was like, I don't think my American friends might have understood that, like, that was breakfast. I was like, girl, if you had like rice on there, okay, that's lunch. But because it was no rice, no, that's breakfast. That's breakfast. It was pretty comical. But yeah, so, I'm super excited to have you on, Taryell. You are our very first. You are the premiere. You are setting the bar. You are setting the standard. Okay? And who else? Who better? When I found out that you were a Nigerian brother, hey, look. I was like, if I'm not on the right path, okay, I don't even know. This is a sign I'm on the right path. But to be able to have my Nigerian brother be the first male on Tips and Conversations, where we're here to share each other's stories so that we can to elevate and to motivate one another, right, through one another's stories. And for the longest, I only had women. For over a year, I only had women on this platform because they're like, oh, us girls, we gotta, share each other's stories, we sisters and da-da-da-da. But then I'm like, wait a minute, why are we not allowing men to pour into us? And we're always saying who's protecting the Black women? Mm-hmm. Right? And so I'm super excited to have you on, particularly because of what you do, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hey.
And so for those that don't know what DE&I is, can you give a little rundown on what that is, what that means?
Yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion. I have an interesting take on this because to me it's a little bit about creative spaces of belonging. I know there was a transition at one point when we was in diversity, equity, inclusion where we're talking about safe spaces, but I feel like it's a little bit more than that. I like to create what we call brave spaces because I feel brave spaces are necessary to create the change we are all here to find.
What's a brave space? Can you what does that mean? A brave space?
Yeah, so a brave space is like a learning environment that allows learners to really engage with one another, have conversations about social issues with honesty, with sensitivity, with respect and generosity. You can see, I think we're in this era now where we need to have some real talk and dialogue, and there is space where we can have controversy with civility and recognize each other's humanity, where we could distinguish.
Wait, you a rapper or something? You a rapper?
I try once in a while.
That was a whole, you just spit a whole verse. There is space we can have controversy, incivility, and whatever validity. That's a lot.
Because I tell people, oftentimes when we get in these spaces and people have really strong opinions and feelings about something, they have a hard time distinguishing between ideas and people. I may say, that thing you just said there is racist. I'm not a racist. I didn't call you a racist. I said that thing you just said right there was racist.
Isn't it funny though? Sometimes when people, to me, the quickness to say I'm not racist though. Okay, so why did I just trigger you? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think about that too. It's why did I just trigger you? Has someone called you racist before? Because why are you so quick to say, but I'm not racist though?
Right. Because I may not know you deep enough to whether to know you're racist, and only you really know the intent in your heart to know whether you're racist or not. So I can't distinguish if you're racist, but I can distinguish when you say something racist.
Right. No, and I love that, creating the brave spaces, a safe space. I'm going to start using that because it does take a brave space, and in order to have a brave space, it does have to be one where you could have controversial topics. You could freely talk about race. You could freely talk about, because I know I talk about race all the time, about what it's like to be a Black woman in a corporate environment all the time at work. I'm whether or not someone has create that brave space or not, I think I kind of sometimes create my own brave space.
I was reading the comment from my guy. He says, or they will say, I have a black best friend. I was like,
yes,
okay, all right, cool. Like, so that gives you the permission to talk racist to me? Like, right. I don't understand.
Right. It's completely inappropriate. But yeah, so, you know, within DE&I thing, you look at it a little bit differently. What are some of the how did you even get into the space, first and foremost, actually?
Yeah, I got into the space, you know, on accident, honestly. So here's my claim to fame. How I see it, is that I started doing workforce development out here in San Diego under the mayor's office, and I used to do a lot of workforce development programs. And I feel as though a lot of the programs I was doing, like creating middle wage jobs or pathways to middle wage jobs for like underserved youth, veterans, refugees, really helped me navigate D&I before it was D&I, right? Because I had to have those different nuanced, tough conversations. I have to be in community, right? To understand community and community needs, and then put that together to form a program that really fit the needs of the companies that I was bridging these partnerships with, and you know, eventually I got recruited into what was formerly known as EDI after doing this for some time. So I'd say I kind of fell into it. It wasn't like I went straight into school and said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, which is what's dope and what's kind of crazy. I see my girl, my job, Chloe, just joined, and I believe she's a teacher by profession, by training, but she's got a dope online boutique with some really cool African headwear that, of course, like if y'all see me with some of it, I'll have her headwear on sometimes. But
wait, who's this? Niger Chloe got
Niger Chloe. Yes.
Oh, Niger Chloe.
Niger Chloe.
I need the wrap for the braids.
For the braids. My brother said he must keep his braids fresh. He said I must keep my braids fresh. I beg help. But yeah, but like, you know, in talking to schools and going to like different, talking to different educators, or actually going to the schools and having conversations, a lot of kids, children, myself included, right, growing up, we didn't know what careers there were out there. And so yeah, you just fall into things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is such a huge part of our HR. And why do you think that you said that you mentioned that it wasn't before it was DE&I? What does that mean, actually?
Yeah, so, you know, I think DEI got more popular a little bit after George Floyd, right? That's when we seen all the companies go on the ground, make these pledges. It said, "Oh, we're gonna amplify our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. We all about this."
Yeah.
But before that, we wasn't hearing. I mean, we heard some of it, but not to the tune of what happened after George Floyd. Because now we was all forced to kind of sit in our mess, because Nigel Chloe, there was only 3 careers: doctor, engineer, nurse, and our time. Especially if you got a Niger parent, that's the only career you can
Okay. Like, and I'm going to extend that to all the West African parents, because I know Nigerians make fun of me for being Cameroonian, but I'm still over there. But yes, like, that's how it was now: doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure.
Right. And you know, I don't blame my parents, because, you know, they only wanted what was best for us. And
very true.
For their mindset, because, you know, Africans, we some hustlers, we all about books so we can get the money.
Yes.
And those are careers they do that made money. And they did not want us to struggle.
No struggle.
I am struggling so that you can hit these books, so you don't have to struggle.
No more struggling. You're right. When you put it into perspective like that, that's actually a really, really good point, because they only know the best that they know, what they know, and what they knew was, if you were a doctor, you're going to make money. If you're a nurse, you're going to make money. If you're a lawyer, you're going to make money. If you're an engineer, you're going to make money. And there's no knowledge of all these other dope careers and how they impact our society, such as DEI, you know?
Right.
Nigel, Chloe, God forbid you told them you wanted to act or be a poet.
What did she say?
She said, God forbid. Oh, wait, I was doing it. God forbid you told them if you want to act or be a poet.
Wait, look. Check this out. I used to like to draw growing up. That was my thing. That's how that was my release. That's how I express myself. So, a little bit more disclosure about myself. I, in my youth, I was labeled with ADD, attention deficit disorder. For everybody who don't know, and so like the only thing that helped me to really focus and relieve my stress from growing up in the projects was like drawing, and I was really good at it. But my parents was not having any of it. They were like, art. What do you mean, you art? They didn't even say the art. What do you mean? How will you pay your bills?
It even respect the R. No respect on the R. What is axe?
My friend, that is rubbish.
Rubbish.
Give him here, my friend. Go study your books.
Go study your books. If you want to be axes, what is that axes? How you gonna pay bills with being axes? I came to this country just so that you could become an axis and be poor in the streets. The only act of you was the act of a
Nigel Chloe is on the roll right now.
Oh my God, girl, you are Chloe. You are so funny, Nigel Chloe. If you wanted to be a chef, they will say go to cook for
your husband.
Oh man! Oh my goodness! I did not realize you were a comedian. I freaking love Chloe.
Yeah, but that was my life, right? And you know, luckily, you know, I had somebody who my mentor. He was a white Jewish guy, and he eventually got me out of my mindset of self-sabotage that I couldn't amount to anything because I had ADD and I was had this mental block because my parents want me to do engineering. That's not my thing. I can't do art because there's no future in that. So I had like a very glim outlook on the future, right?
And like the things that people, I had one of my fellow sisters was on last week, and she was saying those are the things that people say to you. The stories that people say to you will like that. It's not in your own mindset. So you had this block that you didn't even create. How unfair! That's crazy.
Then he eventually helped me see the world in a different lens. And I remember this to this day because like I thought I was helping him out by making sure he didn't get stuck in the hood looking for me to do community service hours one day. And as I did this program in AmeriCorps, and he got me interested in this science project that eventually took me to the White House. And then,
wow.
And at this time, I wasn't a high achieving student. I was like, okay, this man got me to the White House with all these smart people. I'm following any playbook he give me from here.
Yes. And what grade were you in going to the White House?
I think I was in ninth grade.
Wow.
And then I almost flunked out my first year of college, and then he told me to take a gap year, and I didn't know what a gap year was. I was like, that's white people stuff. I was like, gap year, what's that? Oh, that's when you take a break off. Oh, we never heard of anything like that in the Nigerian household.
No. Gap. That means you are failing. You are flunking. Is that a flunk? Yeah. Like gap year.
And then that's when I did this program called AmeriCorps, which got me out here to San Diego, and then I've been out here ever since. And then it's been a journey. Like, I'll say this about my journey though, for the sake of my parents, I went and got like my bachelor's degree in marketing. Then when I got a master's in organizational development, I tried to climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
In doing that, I realized how miserable some of these execs and CEOs were, and the lifestyle that they living was nothing compared to the lifestyle that I wanted to live. So I eventually left that career, and I started working in the nonprofit sector, which then led me to the position of working with the mayor's office, where I strategically only wanted to do a career where it was in alignment with me, and that I enjoyed it, and then I was able to turn that opportunity into a career that turned into a lucrative career. I was like one of the highest paid people and most sought after people, because I was working in what I call flow, and that's when your passion and purpose are in alignment together. And I remember talking to students one day, and something came to my head, and I just said to them, I was like, listen, do what you love and love what you do. Let me say it again for everybody. Do what you love and love what you do. Don't chase the money, let the money chase you.
Look at you.
And what I mean by that is
back to the bars.
Yeah, when you're doing what you love and you're doing it in purpose with intention, and you have this gift and this innate skill set that you bring to the world, there's like the value that people will put on that. I remember the first time that I got a check to pay written check to come be paid to speak. I was like, wait, you want to pay me to come speak?
Wow.
Like, people do that?
Wow.
It looks like your boy getting paid to do his arts now.
To do his arts. Do his arts. I do arts on stage, you see this check?
Right.
That is so dope.
I told them like 2 zeros on my check. It's like, oh, that's it? You mean I could have charged more? Oh, I thought you would have added another zero on there. I was like, what? Yes.
And you know what? That's actually a really, really good point that I kind of want to hit on briefly, is the value that we put on ourselves. Mm-hmm. So why was that the initial value, right? Obviously that was the initial, because you learned the lesson. Why was that the initial value that you put on yourself?
I think it feeds into the rhetoric of what I grew up with, right? That that was this thing that I was offering is not a value, right? Like the value was in the degree and climbing the corporate ladder, not the gift that I had of speaking or creating something that was beautiful to somebody's ears that's going to inspire them, right?
No, that's real. So in a workplace, you'd be like, look, I need you to add all these zeros behind my name, because that's what you study. That's what you like. Okay, I went to school for this. This makes sense. But the acts that you create, your natural given talent, the reason why you are on this earth, you were like, ain't no way that somebody values that.
Man.
Based on what somebody put into your head. That's crazy. Man. That's like that's wow, that's crazy.
Shout out to the realist. The realist is in the building. I appreciate you, love. Thank you.
Yes, Taryell is amazing. And for those of y'all that are just joining in, welcome to Sips. And this is the first ever male guest. Taryell is the first ever male guest that we have had on Sips and Conversations. And we're just talking all about Taryell today. And, just chopping it up, talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and his journey to sharing his impact with the world. So as you get your first speaking gig, and how did that feel like hopping off that stage, right? That first time.
Yeah, it felt good. I think one thing I had to learn was not to be afraid to share your origin story. Because think,
what does that mean, origin story?
The journey of how you got to where you got. Because I think sometimes what we forget when we get here, we tell the story from a space of abundance, or the here and now of where we're at. But the really important lessons are the ones that we learned along the way to get to where you at, that really connects to people, their heart, soul, to help them transform, make the decisions, and sometimes that takes a little bit of vulnerability as well. And I think that was the most important lesson I learned when I started to learn how to really tap into that story. And that actually happened on accident, because when I was doing the youth programs, I would speak from where I was at now in life, and the students were not connecting with me because they thought I was this six-figure from the hills kid that didn't know nothing about struggle. And I remember the teacher said, "Look, I know where you came from and the work that it took for you to get here. You need to tell like these kids about you coming from the projects, and the struggles you went to and how you overcame those to get there." I was like, "Nah, they don't want to hear that. Like, no, you need to tell that." And when I told that story, it just took off like wildfire. That's when, people started to reach out to me. "Hey, I need you to come. Somebody told me about the story they heard you say. I need you to come give that same speech to my kids. I need you to come give that same speech to my kids." And then next thing I know, everybody's reaching out to have me come speak.
To tell your story. So what is your story? Share your story just a little bit. Oh, what's the story that you told on what did you tell on the stage? That's so impactful.
Hey, I think one of the reasons, one of the impactful stories that I told was, a lot of people in life, I was this kid that was told I had ADD. I wasn't going to amount to nothing. I remember being in front of the judge who was about to sentence me to community service, and she was I was on her last straw. She's like, "Look, I don't want to see you in my courtroom no more. You don't get this community service. I see you in my courtroom again, Mr. Simmons. That's it. I'm throwing the key at you, right?"
Wow.
And like I said, that's how I met my mentor. And then I eventually got through that phase, right, where he showed me, that I am not to be a victim of my circumstances, right? Circumstances are temporary, if we all seen The Lion King since this Niger, right? Remember when Rafiki hit Simba over the head? He's like, "What was that?" It doesn't matter. It was in the past, right? So you gotta step into your kingdom, king, right? And he kind of helped me see that. And so as I began to work on myself and I started chasing that career ladder, but I found out the career ladder I was chasing was not my path either. And I then did the self-work to find who was I and what did I want to bring to the world and what energies did I want to be around. That helped me connect to my true value, my true gift, and my true purpose. And these are the lessons I'm trying to tell people. Don't your parents, society, the career counselors, they're going to tell you the career path you should go on because this is going to make you money. But I encourage you to find your path and what fits best for you. What do you enjoy? What do you like to do until you find that thing that you could do to bring to the world? Because everybody's done it, but nobody's done your path. You are on a particular path that we can all give you like advice on how we did it, but your path is uniquely meant for you. And once you get on that path and you get on that flow, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore because you start to attract opportunities. Instead of chasing things, you attract things. And once you start to attract things, then you can pretty much literally name your price. It doesn't matter whether it's art, engineering, whatever your thing is. You bring that thing to the world, and then you could put the price to it, and then you can live life on your own terms, not this sold to you American dream that everybody is trying to chase.
Yeah. What gives that person that je ne sais quoi to be able to demand life on their own terms? Because I have one word that comes to mind for me: confidence. Like, so as you're on this Is you're finding yourself, you know how like when you're growing up, people are like, oh, you smelling yourself. Like, like you start to really, like you smell yourself. Absolutely, I am. And it smells good over here.
Yeah.
So there's like this confidence, yeah.
And the key to confidence is continuously working on self, personal and professional development that allows you to elevate. See, there's the stages, there's levels to this. There's the awareness level.
Yeah.
And then there's the vision level where you see, there's the becoming, right? And then there's the I've arrived. And so what I want people to get to is that becoming to arrive phase. People always get stuck in the becoming phase, but they never arrive.
Dang. Okay, so how can somebody get stuck in that, or how do you even recognize that you are stuck? Because do they even know they're stuck in the becoming phase?
What happens is, they either it's a battle between
oh no, oh there you go.
Wait. Okay. Oh, my batteries went out. So
okay.
So what I was going to say is sometimes people get in the battle of ego and they let go of self-reflection and they get stuck in this phase of the alter ego, and they don't keep working on themselves, right? Or
sometimes they smell themselves a little bit too early.
Yeah. Or what happens is, your family, people around you, the closest, they try to give advice to you because they love you, but they will project their shit onto you, and then you ingest that.
Oh,
and now you're moving in a certain way that's not your way because they projected something on you, and you started to believe the projection.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. The real one. Yeah, sometimes you can get a little bit too comfortable. And believing that projection is really what kills. To me, it can kill dreams one way or another. Like regardless of what. Like you believe the projection of the this is who I am, right? That happened to you. And I know even for me personally, like there's things that I'm doing now that I remember when I was going to grad school, I tell this story pretty frequently. When I was, I decided, so my son and I, we split up, and at that time, my son was 2.5. And so a year later, like that following year, I was like, well, before he starts school, let me, like real school, like he was in preschool and stuff, but like before he started real school, I think he was like 3. So he was going to leave pre-K by 5, right, when he turned 5. So I'm like, before he starts school, let me go ahead and do grad school. I don't know how this is going to materialize itself, but I need more money. I was making like $35,000 a year and taking care of a child, on my own. And it was just a lot. So I'm like, well, I don't know where this is going to go, but the worst that can happen is I'm going to make some money off of it, right?
Yeah.
And I had a colleague of mine actually open up her mouth and say to this African woman whose parents came, who swam across the ocean to get to America. But I had this lady at work tell me that was impossible. Like she actually said, that's not possible. You can't do that. How selfish of you to do that to your child. You're going to be taking time off. You have to do all this homework and you're working. That's just not possible. That's not going to work. Yeah. And I was like, now watch me work. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny, this reminds me of a story that Jay-Z told one time on the radio. He's like, yo, my uncle used to say, you'll never sell 1 million records. Like, who do you think you are? Da, da, da. He's like, I sold 1 million records like 1,000 times. like what is 1 million records? It's nothing, because when you have that drive,
when you're like, no, I gotta make it or I gotta make it. What's a million records, right?
And it's not that his uncle meant malice, as he said. It's like he just couldn't see it because he has never done it. So he's projecting.
Yep.
And he didn't want his nephew to be disappointed or get caught up in the loss up in the sauce, fame, hype, or whatever it is. And so he called himself protecting them by giving them advice that, was not really for him.
Yeah. So what can people do as, and I'm going to put it as leaders or in the workspace, right? Because that's real, that's your judge right there for real. So like in the workspace, because I think those same negative projections can be put on people in the working environment. In schools, right? Same thing. A teacher could tell you, hey, look, this is where you're from, and so you're not going to get out the hood. They could actually say that to you instead of speaking life into you. At work, somebody could say, hey, look, you're not. I've actually had people tell me that somebody that I see leadership potential are not leaders. And so what can we as leaders or, in the workspace do, or educators, what can we do to make sure that we're uplifting versus stomping on people's dreams because we're protecting them?
I think mentorship is key. Mentorship is going to be the one thing that really helps balance the imbalance of what we see in our school systems, because a lot of our school systems are predominantly white female teachers, right? So and mentorship from the fact that there's peer-to-peer mentor, there's like passive mentorship, and then also schools need to do a better job at working with community, because I know how many times that people said, oh, you know what, you should teach. I was like, see, here's how that works for me, right? Because one, people in the education space don't consider me an educator because I ain't got no PhD and I'm not on their level, right?
Wow.
But I am an educator.
Yep.
But they need to work with community, the educators in the community.
Yep.
So that there could be representation of the wide variety of the different spectrums of cultures that are in the communities that these individuals are teaching. They need to learn, and the students need to learn, and people need to see people that look like them.
Yes. Yes.
This is so very important. That's the whole reason why I started my podcast, is because our students can't be what they can't see, and then that's how all these other things affect how we show up, how we grow up, and how we are able to maneuver the world, right?
Yeah, you got to see it to believe it. And personally, I worked I spent a lot of time inside of the school, and I've never been an educator. Being on my son, he used to go to charter school because I got problems with the public education system, although we're in it right now. And the more I'm in it, the more I'm like, see, this is why I got problems with the public education system. And it just, because you're right, there's, like my son's school, he does have white female teachers.
Right.
Those are his educators. And so all they're seeing, a representative of success is a white woman who is there to guide you through life. And then the principal is either a white woman or a white man most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so in the school building, you don't really see success. If you go home and you don't have positive Black parents or brown parents or whatever, just positive people of color around you really doing something powerful, you don't get that there. And so you think what you see on TV is the only way to be successful, which is rapping or playing a sport or, stuff like that. You're like, okay, this is how I'm going to really be able to make it. But there's so much more out there.
Yeah, and we already see what the role media plays in this. I'm trying to figure out, there was a movie I was just watching not too long ago. I'm trying to figure out what the name of it is. there was a Netflix special. I think it's called "This Changes Everything," and it was talking about the women in Hollywood, how the representation of women in Hollywood is lacking, right? And in that representation, how it's presented and portrayed. So our media and school system play a strong role in how we are seeing ourselves. And so it's either one thing that has to happen. Either we're going to have to get more diversity, equity, inclusion into the school system and really change the school system. The school system needs to evolve. Or we as a community are going to have to start taking it upon ourselves to do our own education outside of the system.
Yeah. Tell us some ways. So we've got mentorship. What are some good, whether it be nonprofits to connect with, or what can people do right where they're at in order to really bring some more diversity, definitely equity and inclusion in their right where they're at.
I would say whatever your thing is, get immersed in different groups to learn about different cultures, whether it be ERGs, going to a film festival, whatever it is, you can start light.
What's an ERG?
Employee Resource Group.
Okay. And ERG. I was like, what's an ERG?
ERG, Employee Resource Group in your area of employment. Now, there has to be a different mindset too when you're looking at this, how we evolve as a society. And that mindset is, I know some people going to at me and come at me for this, but a lot of our culture in the U.S. is Christian based, and that Christian base, it's they abide by that golden rule, which means treat others how you want to be treated. But I say we need to up our standards because we have so many different cultures. This culture is all, even if you go into one company, right?
Yeah.
Think about how many cultures are in that company. Yeah. Even in that same office.
Yes.
From one office to an office, there could be different cultures. And I'm not just talking about race. I'm just talking about like one culture in the office. When the meeting's at 8 o'clock, everybody show up at 7:55.
Right.
In the other office, meeting at 8 o'clock, everybody show up at 8:10. Right?
I know, even within like my team, there's people that are going to be on time every single day, sitting there waiting for everybody else to show up.
Yeah.
And it happens every day.
Yeah, and cultures evolve too. Cultures always in flux and changing based on who you integrate with. So we can't continue to live by this golden rule of treat others the way they want to be treated. So I encourage people to take the mindset of living by the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated, which means you have to have space to learn about individuals, right? And who they are and what they're about. And even if you don't respect the way they're living their life, at least, even if you disagree with the way they live life, you can at least respect how they want to be treated and have a level of humanity to meet them where they're at, so that you don't dehumanize that person. No,
when I say that is so good, I was actually talking to from a work and school perspective that is spot on, because a lot of times we treat people like you're saying, how we think that we want them to be treated. But from a life perspective also, one concept that I've been really working through is a concept that we always say, there's this unconditional love, right? People say that, hey, no, I've got unconditional love for my child. I've got unconditional love for my spouse. I've got unconditional love for my siblings. But the moment they do not behave the way that you want them to behave, they cut off. Mm-hmm. If you see any inclination of twitching or turning in a direction that you don't agree with, oh no, I have disowned you. And, this person is crazy, that person's crazy, versus just saying, this is where you're at. and I can respect where you're at. I don't have to ride with you for it. I don't have to be there because it may not align with what my thoughts and processes are. But I respect exactly where you're at, and I have to respect you and accordingly. I'm not going to force my thoughts on you. I'm not going to want you to do anything. But that mindset is a part of diversity. And it's like, why can't we understand that the way people process up here, it's okay. We all need to think differently. That's part of diversity.
Yeah, and it's a combination of that mindset and that the space. Like, so that's why I went to Brave Spaces. So in the mindset portion, not only are we treating people how they want to be treated, I've been blessed. My mentor is Jewish. My some of my really good friends are Filipino. I got some Latino friends. My wife is Chinese. So I've been blessed to have some various cultures that I interact with and build community with and family with, and in that I would say the reason why I was able to get through some tough conversations is because I had a level of curiosity and release some of the judgment as much as you can, and the expectation, right? I interact with you because I have an expectation of you to do this or act this way. But have a level of curiosity, and my favorite go-to question, especially if you're in any type of leadership position, make sure you write this down. Help me understand. Help me understand. And do you ask whatever it is that you're curious about, how they approached you about something or something that you don't understand that's just totally off the wall from how you maneuver in life, right?
No, because it helped me understand. Let me get my mind wrapped around where your mind is actually going, because especially as a leader, how do you grow your team? How do you develop leaders? How do you even know who belongs on your team if you can't understand their mindset? It's all mental. So regarding the work that you're doing, I think it's just super powerful. You mentioned diversity within the schools, and I think that's something that we don't really talk about. Increasing that diversity. I recently partnered with a nonprofit called Ambassadors of Change. And that's what we do. We go into schools, and that was like the first attack, right? It's like, hey, how do we get into schools? And I've been doing that just on my own for quite some time. And, like you said, when you're on the right path, you'll start attracting different things, right? And so, we partnered with this organization, my friend and I, and what we're quickly finding is, like you had said, schools don't really welcome that diversity and inclusion. It's like you gotta do that on your own time. I mean, to the point where my partner's in Houston, and there's only literally 20, sometimes 30 minutes that these schools are allowing people to come in and to mentor their children. So the mentorships happen outside of the schools. So some other groups, there's other groups that you can or that you kind of connect with in the community to offer some mentorship.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. So I think for your situation, your team's going to have to get more creative on how they create experiences that allow for people to have a different experience in life that's not the normal experience that they normally have. Like, say for example, that most in some towns where kids grow up in a certain sector, some of them have not left outside of that sector to go to any other part of town up north, or to the beach part of towns if you next left to the water. And so just taking them out to give them a different experience of life and where they're at opens their mind and awakens them to something new, right?
Wow. I never actually even thought about that. Getting especially a child, because I know for myself, as I've gotten older, I've been fortunate enough to be in different types of environments. And every time, at first you're like, oh my gosh, imposter syndrome. But then it's like, dang, people out here living like this?
Yeah.
Like, they out here, this is real. Like, this is tangible. I can touch. These are people living in that way. So there's so much power in getting that exposure to something different. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. And I know, that's another way that you're kind of getting voice out there. So, let's hear a little bit about your little humble podcast.
My little podcast, my little sound. Podcast is Rise Urban Nation. We're on Instagram. So if y'all look up Rise Urban Nation, we out here. And it's really about amplifying Black voices. I've got to meet so many amazing Black people in the startup space, executives from Fox, Black VPs and Facebook. I just had a great conversation not too long ago with the guy who's doing all the videos from Smack Entertainment, who does all the videos behind Deion Sanders and that whole team. He works with Michael Strahan, so like some amazing folks on there, and they talk about their journey in life and some great stories.
I mean, you got pulled? Like, you all plugged?
So I can't take all the credit for that. There's a couple of PR companies that got me in their books now, and so they send me some great guests. So
that's not
I'll plug you in. I'll plug you in later. I'll plug you into the PR.
No, that is so incredibly amazing to just hear these, CEOs and these incredible people that you have come onto your platform. What is your goal of Rise Urban Nation?
So my goal is just to keep amplifying our voices and Black excellence until it's just our youth. It's normal for them to see or hear or learn about somebody who's a Black CEO, a Black executive, a Black community leader, a Black artist living life on their terms and making a good life. So it's just not about just the CEOs and the staff size. I got some amazing artists, some nonprofit leaders, community developers who are living amazing lives on their terms, building up their community and building up and doing things that's important to them, right?
Yeah. So, can you define what living life on your own terms mean? Because you said that like 3, 4, 5, 10.
Oh man, living life on your terms. That's gonna be something different for everybody. So for me, living life on my terms is when I have control over my time. Right now, a lot of us are trading our time for money. And if you look at how wealthy people, not rich, wealthy people don't trade time for money because their time is too valuable. So I want to get to a point in life where I can spend time how I want to spend my time, right? Because time is the only asset here on earth that we don't get more of, and so it's more valuable. And so why not spend that time doing exactly what you love to do, who you love to do it with?
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. I really, really love that. And for, I haven't done this in quite some time, but I used to always ask like a final question. And I realized that I haven't done it in a while. Like, what is the one, because you said when I say incredible things today, and could not have asked for a better first, right, than to have you on and just have like dope conversation. But with all of your experiences and with all of your incredible words and wisdom, what is the one thing that if you were to give any one piece of advice to anybody watching this, that you would leave them with?
One piece of, only one? God.
You just get one. You just get one. You just get one piece of advice. And the reason why I asked it in that way is because there's something that always rules our lives, right? I think there's something that rules us at the core. It's our base, it's our foundation. There's that one thing that you can't change, that, because if you change that thing, or if you didn't have that thing, you wouldn't be who you are. Without that thing happening to you, you wouldn't be who you are. So that's why I always ask, there's one thing. And yes, it is a soul searching exercise.
So, all right, that was a soul searching exercise. So I got two things, but I'm gonna just do the one.
Okay. For you, because of who you are, like you're a monumental figure on this Intensive Conversations now. I'm gonna let you get two.
So I'm a lifelong learner, so I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the reason why I say that is because when we stay in our comfort zone, we're often stuck in our own echo chamber, and comfort is really unsafe because nobody grows, and I want you to always continue to grow. But in that same breath, I want to say, make sure you take care of yourself and rest. Rest is the new thing that I'm learning in my own self-care, and taking mental health more seriously, is that a young lady on my podcast told me rest is restorative and revolutionary. Rest is restorative and revolutionary, because in this ecosystem and this society that they have us in this grind culture and this hamster wheel, to break out the cycle is revolutionary.
That was too deep. Like, no, you can't. You're leaving us on a cliffhanger here. What? All right, so how do we get more of you? Like, where do we go? Like, where's your podcast at? How do we hear more of you? How do we experience you more? Obviously, the podcast is called Rise Urban Nation.
Rise Urban Nation. Follow us on Instagram. We're on TikTok, Twitter. We're all on all social media platforms. I'm on YouTube. We're setting up the YouTube channel right now to get all the YouTube video content out there to the world. We're on Apple Podcasts. That's our main streaming platform is Apple Podcasts, or what's the other one? Spotify. Apple, Spotify, if you want to listen. And then we're almost finished putting up all the YouTube videos. We still got some. We started the YouTube game late, so.
No, you started on time. Okay, you started right on time.
No, I appreciate you.
Started. Period. So you are incredible, and I so thank you so much. You have definitely gained a fan in me, and I really appreciate you for sharing your energy, your time, your spirit, your positivity, all the goods, and your rap skills. And I wish, that's how I would really like be like to draw. I feel like you got a whole notebook or something. Like you got a verse. Can you lead us out with a little something or no?
They just come in ebbs and flows. So you have to catch me on the next one.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that has watched us live. You can definitely catch the replay, share it within your network, and you can catch Simply Conversations on really anywhere that you can listen to. It's a podcast. We got like 15 episodes up, I think, at this point, which is great. The problem is that I'm posting still from last year, so I got a whole lot more. Don't judge me. No
judgments. No judgment here. No judgment.
I beg you. Well, thank you, my brother. You continue to be wonderful. Okay.
All right, my sister.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.